Hello, everyone. I apologize for the late delay. We had technical issues. My name is Mitchell Scott. I am the Senior Director of the Special Investigations Unit and Pharmacy Audit Team here at Prime Therapeutics and Magellan RX Management. And today I have the privilege of hosting our Beyond the Script show. This episode is going to be powerful as we discuss the impact of the opioid crisis and how tools like the prior authorization or PA can save lives. Now, let's start with some quick intros about our guests, my colleagues, David and Marcus. David Lassen is a Chief Clinical Officer at Prime MRX, and Marcus Caruso is a Government Affairs Principal at Prime MRX. Thank you both for joining us today. Now, I want to set the stage here. I want to share startling statistic with you all. So, according to the CDC, from 1999 to 2021, nearly 645,000 people died from an overdose involving any opioid, both including prescription and illicit opioids. Now, being in law enforcement for 32 years prior to coming into Prime, I experienced dealing with individuals who were addicted to opioids, and I firsthand saw the impact not only to them but to their family members. So, as a part of the SIU team here at Prime and MRX, we believe that any effort to save the life of one person is worthwhile. And so, to hear the number of lives lost in the opioid epidemic is sombering. Now, for today's conversation, we will talk largely about the prescription opioids. The issues we are concerned with is one of the key safeguards for a PBM to have to confront the opioid epidemic is the prior authorization or the PA, and it's under attack. But before I dive into the PAs, I'd like to start with Marcus. Marcus, the fact is the opioid problem in this country has impacted far too many lives. I know you have a tragic story to share. Marcus, can you tell us about your twin brother, Luke?
Yeah. Uh, Luke was my best friend. Um, August 14th of 2023 was the worst day of my life. Started off like any other day. Actually, I was on my way to a doctor's appointment, so I guess not every day. But on my way to the doctor, my mom sends me a text at 6 a.m. Hey, talk to your brother. Haven't heard from him. Let me know. And I talk to him every day. So I told my mom, well, he's working overnight, so he's probably still working. So don't worry about it. Um, she gives me a call actually when I was on my way back from the doctor, and she said, your dad's going over there. My brother lived in Hudson. We haven't heard from him. Just gonna go check on him. And then about 45 minutes later, I get another call from my mom, and my mom is hysterical, and she's yelling, "He's dead! He's dead! He's effing dead! I effing knew it!" Um, and it's obviously shock. It I didn't know how to react, like anybody, anger. But it sounds weird, but him being my twin brother, it felt like, I definitely lost a piece of myself the second my mom said that. I mean, and you never get that back. Um, so, I mean, how did we get there? It was a fentanyl overdose. This was over 10 years in the making, really. My brother used to be a police officer, always wanted to be a police officer, worked in the Hennepin County jails. Um, and injured his back. And when he injured his back, he got a prescription for Vicodin, and he was using Vicodin, I think, as you're supposed to. Apparently, abused it a little bit. Um, Kept getting it renewed, and when it couldn't get renewed anymore, he had a great aunt that was living with him that they were taking care of, and she gave him some of her painkillers. Um, and when they couldn't get those anymore, his friend was able to worked at a healthcare facility and was able to get a prescription pad. Got the prescription pad, and they tried to keep the other guy tried to go in and get another thing of Vicodin, and that's where he got caught. So they had to go another route. My brother went to treatment. We thought he was doing great, um, and then relapsed. This time, based on who he met in treatment with heroin. So then, evolved to heroin, and heroin for I think over a year. Again, went back to treatment. I think relapsed maybe once, and we thought he was good. Um, there was this past time in August where it was fentanyl that he had gotten from a friend. His back was hurting. Again, he hurt his back during a weightlifting meet earlier. Took the fentanyl, and it killed him. I'm hoping instantly. And you talk about how it impacts, not only the person but the family. I mean, again, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my brother. Pray every day, that he's doing all right. And I'm sure he is. But he's got two teenage kids that really need him. They don't have a dad anymore. He's my mom. It's her son. She's never going to get over that, and we got our birthday coming up. I don't want to celebrate it. So I mean, when you look at the impact, that it leaves on people, um, you can't really put any words into it. And I know that David's going to go into prior authorization, but prior authorization may not have saved my brother's life, but it can save others. It's there for a reason. It's a guardrail so that had that prescription drug or when they had that fake pad, what would have happened? Had something like that not been there, they've been able to catch it. And people like you and FWASI, able to catch that stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, if I have any message to anybody, it's you never know. Like I said, my brother was a police officer, father, involved with his baseball, his kids' baseball, everything. You don't know who it chooses. Addiction is addiction. It's a disease, and not only and again, like you said, PA is under attack. There's other pieces of legislation out there that I see in my job where people are trying to help these people with this addiction. And that's also important to point out, these Narcan places. People are like, well, why are we wasting money on junkies? Those people are not junkies. Those people are your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters. These people have a disease. You have to keep them alive long enough to allow them to seek the help they need, and their family depends on it. It's again, it can happen to any one of us. And after I told this story earlier, a few months ago after it happened, the outpouring notes to our families, how it's happened. It happens to everybody. And like you said, it's way too common, and it starts with that opioids and that it was opioids this time. What's it going to be next time? It's you never know. And I just thank you very much for inviting me today to talk about this, talk about my brother. Um, uh, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or IM text, whatever you need. And again, if you know of somebody, a family member, friend, anybody, reach out to them. You can save them. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Marcus, for sharing your story, and we are truly sorry for your family's loss. You know, but I appreciate, and I think we all appreciate you sharing your brother's story with us, because if it can touch just one person, right, it's worth it, right? It may help that
Really,
person get the help they need and realize that you know it's not like they want to harm themselves. It's just it's a disease. So what can they
yeah,
do? What there's help out there. They just got to be willing to reach out for it. The sad thing
absolutely,
is, it's just all too common that this happens over and over again. But thank you so much for sharing the story with us. I appreciate it.
of course.
I want to take this time to bring in David to talk about prior authorization or a PA. So, David, so tell us about a PA. How does it work? What's the controversy about it? And what could be some of the unforeseen circumstances if it's taken away?
Yeah, thanks, Mitchell. So, in terms of how it works, I think first and foremost, it's really a tool. As you've said already, it's not the only tool that we have, but it's a tool designed really to promote evidence-based coverage. And the process really entails through a verification process, if you will, that's really designed to, verify specific pieces of information to ensure appropriate use, so that we can really help to create the most safe and effective drug therapy utilization. There has been controversy, and I think that we continue to hear key stakeholders, either through providers or manufacturers or other lobbying organizations, really around a couple of specific concerns regarding prior authorization. One, I think that we've heard is that look, prior authorization's arbitrary. It's an overreach by payers, and I think I would say that it's important to understand that these are not just policies written by insurance agencies. These are policies developed thoughtfully with evidence-based protocols in place and governed really by an external body of practicing physicians and pharmacists, really to ensure that we're bringing the evidence-based approach thoughtfully through these policies. And I would also say, in terms of also here around that, why so many drugs are prior authorized. It seems like they're all prior authorized, and I think that it's safe to say that from our perspective, we believe that usually less than 10% of all drugs have some sort of prior authorization in a pharmacy benefit. The second is that look, prior authorization is overly burdensome, and and I think that we would all tend to, agree that historically, the member experience, the provider experience, has not been ideal or optimal. There's been work, administrative burden put forth, even though the prior authorization return on investment is worth it. We can totally understand, right, that experience has not been good for members caught in a pharmacy, not knowing whether they have coverage or not. I would say though that most payers today really are have invested in steps to automate the process, and so what we see is really the objective to ensure that upstream, right at the point of care, when the prescriber is prescribing the medication to a member, they have the right information and tools accessible to help ensure and receive a prior authorization as soon as possible right there, so that the member leaves the office with prescription in hand and understands, when they get to the pharmacy, that there's not going to be challenges. And so those advances in automation, digital, electronic prior authorization techniques continue to evolve. And I think that's really something to make sure we consider. So, Mitchell, back to you.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you,
That
David.
very helpful. I'd like to add another statistical or stat to the conversation here. So, according to the AMA, in 2023, lawmakers in 29 states and the District of Columbia considered some 90 bills to limit prior authorization requirements. Now, Marcus, in your work, you speak with a lot of legislators. Do they understand the unintended consequences of removing the PA from healthcare toolkit? And really, what are some of the conversations you're having with these legislators?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up right now because it's really big right now. I actually specifically going to a state next week to have this exact discussion. I did it last week as well. I think it's an education thing, and like David had said earlier, there's a lot of lobbying groups telling a lot of things, and if it comes down to administrative burden, like David said, it's less than 8% or 10%. If you can't administratively manage that, that's not an issue that you should take safety out because it's an administrative burden to you. Don't get rid of these guardrails. So again, it's an education thing. As anybody knows with politics, politics plays a lot into it. So you can have all the logic and explain it to them as well as, and they might understand it, they might not. But in some cases, they've already made up their mind, which is unfortunate. And that's what we get there. We get there to educate them so they can make the best decision for their constituents. PA is a big thing, and we're going to continue the fight to maintain PA, and we'll continue that message.
All right. So, David, let's think about the PA side, and
Mhm.
Marcus is handling the legislation side. But what are the PBMs doing to make sure the members and the clients and others understand just the value of a PA itself?
Yeah, I think helping to be really clear on the return on investment that payers are receiving on these programs, right? They're not designed to just limit access to care. They're designed to ensure safe and effective utilization, which, if taken away, can have and will have significant impacts on overall prescription benefit premiums. And we know that our objective is to continue to promote the value, the performance of these programs, the return on investment, and also the innovation that continues to grow as we see more and more automation of these types of programs.
And just to add on to that, David, and sorry to interrupt, Mitch, but that's
No, you're
exactly
fine.
right. I think what some people get lost is, oh, it's all about the money. It's all about the savings. The savings is so that they can afford to get the care they need. So when you talk, well, the $1.8 million to the insurance company is nothing. No, they're taking that money so they can make it affordable for you to get your prescriptions and all of the members to get those prescriptions. So that's part of the quality of care. You can say it's about money. It's not. Money is a part of the equation that gets the people the access to the drugs they need so that they can live the better lives. So again, that argument, it's all about money. Money's a portion of it so that you can get that care. They need to
Yeah,
recognize that.
it's about we're balancing ensure that they're getting the care, but patient safety at the same time. So that's why it really comes full circle. You're looking at the patient safety aspect, but you want to make sure it's affordable, that they can get what they
Exactly.
need to make sure they're
Yep.
getting their healthcare needs met. So a great conversation. Thank you both for joining us today and sharing your views with us on this critical issue. I really appreciate it. I'm sure the viewers do too. And thanks to our viewers for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in for this discussion. Also, please mark your calendars for our next Beyond the Script episode on Thursday, May 30th. You can look for more updates on our LinkedIn feed. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe.